Hi everyone, this is Bhumika. I'm here for you to explain what you're going to cover in this webinar, like a basic overview about the products like Bolt API and Linux, and why it is supported, and what are the Linux distributions that is supported. And along with this, how can you deploy Bolt API in Ubuntu using Nginx and Apache, and also to deploy in the CentOS servers as well. And along with this, we are going to see how to install the optional libraries in Boltbay and why it is needed to install the optional libraries here. And also, we are going to see at the last of the section, which is to troubleshoot some basic issues which you face while deployment or either after the deployment, like a permission issues or like a bad gateway issue, something with it, whatever you're facing, we will help you to troubleshoot the basic issues here. And at last, we will see the summary of this webinar. So first of all, let's take some basic overview about the product. So what is BoltBI? BoltBI is a powerful tool for creating and sharing the interactive analytical dashboards, which helps you to connect your data and you can transform your data based on your needs. And then you can visualize the metrics in your dashboards. And it also allows you to embed into your websites or the web pages or the web applications, and which looks like a seamless website integration models. And also, when we talk about like a Bolt BI, we provide Bolt BI application in two models. One is our own cloud, which is completely hosted by Fusion, and we manages them. And the second type is like on-premise servers, where you can install in your own servers and they can deploy wherever you want. So when we talk about the on-premise servers, we allow you to deploy in various different platforms like a Windows, Linux, Azure, Kubernetes, and Docker too. So we have a lot of distributions. So in this, we are going to take a look on Linux. So what is Linux? Linux is an open source operating system which manages the system hardware and the resources so that it makes a connection between all the software and the physical resources that works in the machines. So when we talk about Linux and the Bolt PI, so what are the distributions supported by the Bolt PI on the Linux? Because Linux has a lot of distributions. So when we talk about that, Bolt PI allows you to deploy in Ubuntu and CentOS using the Apache and the Nginx web servers. So when we talk about Ubuntu and CentOS, let's take a basic overview on that. So what is Ubuntu? Ubuntu is one of the Linux-based operating system, and it is specially designed for the computers, smartphones, and the network servers. And about the CentOS, CentOS is also one among the Linux distributions, and it is mostly used for the consistent, manageable platform that suits a variety of deployments. So BoldBee allows you to deploy in Ubuntu and CentOS using these web servers, which is Apache and the Nginx. So Apache is also open source web server, which delivers the web contents to the clients. And it is used to host the websites and the applications in an effectively and the securely manner. And about the Nginx, which is also one of the open source web server, and it is designed to handle the high traffic loads efficiently. And it is mostly used by the websites and the applications to improve the performance, stability, and the security wise. So these are the basic overview about like a Bolt BI and the Linux and what are the distributions supported for Bolt BI and how can you deploy them about the using the web servers. So now let's take a look on how can we deploy Bolt BI in Ubuntu using the Apache web server. So the first step is to connect your servers. So using the command SSH username at your IP address and the password. So let me go to the PowerShell and connect to the servers. So if you're connecting to the server at the first time, it will ask you to enter S. If it is already connected, then you can connect with the servers. Just a minute. Let me check now. Uh, so let's go with the PowerShells now. And let me reconnect the servers here and you can enter your password. So now the machine has been connected. Now our next step is to install the Apache web server in the machine. So if you want to update your machines, you can make use of the command sudo apt update. So now let me install the Apache server using the command sudo apt install Apache 2. So you can make this enter, and if you want, you can go with this. So let me cancel this restarting services as of now. So once done, let me clear this page to show you the comments in the first section. So our next step is to install the zip package, which is needed to unzip or the zip the folders or the files when you're downloading or when you're trying to extract it. So we are going to install the zip package using the command sudo apt-get install zip. And our next command is to install the libgdi plus, which is needed to enable the graphics in the Bolt BI application. So let's install libgdi plus. And our next command is to install PB package, which is needed to track the data that is sent through the pipelines. So let's install PB package. And now we are going to set the environment or the path in case if you want to configure the SSL. So using the command export open SSL underscore conf and your path. So here I'm setting the path as etc SSL, where I have the SSL certificates. So once then we are going for the installation of Bolt BI. So we need the download package of the Bolt BI application. So using the command sudo wget, you need to pass the download link. So where to get this download link inside? Go to the Bolt BI official website and click on login, and that will show you the available packages based on the different deployments. So click on install on Linux, click on to this download icon, and the page will be downloaded. So let's pass this and let me refresh the page here. So you could see the link. Just copy this. Let me go with this link. Let me copy this and you can go with the command prompt sudo wget and the link. So it will take a few seconds to load. And once done, we are going to extract this package. So it was downloaded. So now let's go to the next step, which is to extract the downloaded package name. So using the command sudo unzip package name. So copy this package name from the last line and enter like sudo unzip the package name. And our next step is to once extracted, we need to change the Bolt BI as a current working directory in order to make the installation scripts to run. So using the command cd and the current directory. So once done, copy this folder name and change it to cd Bolt BI as the current working directory. So let me clear this and show you at the top. And our next step is to install the Bolt BI using the command sudo bash and the script and the concepts. So here, install Bolt BI is a script which is available in the Bolt BI package folder itself. And -i indicates the installation, and -u is the user, and -h denotes the domain address, and -s is the web server name. So let me go here. So I have mapped the IP address with the DNS. So I'm going with the DNS name here. So let it install. And let me explain the few concepts in this command, which is in case if you want to install as a new installation, then you can provide the -i parameter value as new. In case if you want to upgrade with the latest version of the application, then you can provide the keyword as upgrade. And the next thing is -u, which is the user. So as of now, here it is root user. So I have mentioned as root. In case if you have the group, ensure that the user or the group exists in the Linux servers. So you can mention the user or the groups here. And the next is -h, which is the domain address. It can be IP address, or in case if you mapped with your DNS, you can mention that along with the HTTP protocol. And the last section of the command is -s Apache, which means using which web server installation is going on. So here it is using the Apache. So let's go with the command. So the packages were downloading and it starts to enable the Bolt.bi services. And once done, you could see the Bolt.bi installation has been completed. So once you see this message, let's launch the application in the browser. As it is the first time, it will take some few seconds to load, and then you can see the installation page. So once it's completed, then you can go ahead with the setting up your Bolt.bi account using the icon login to activate account. So this is how you can deploy Bolt.bi in Ubuntu using the Apache web server. And one more thing you can note here is, as of now, this application is installed without any SSL. In case if you have your SSL, then let's take the next steps how to deploy with the SSL certificates. So we need to change the path to the Apache configuration file location. So let's navigate to the file location here. Let me clear this out. And our next step is to edit the Bolt.bi Apache configuration file and make some changes like uncommenting the commented lines, replace your DNS or the IP address in the server name instead of localhost, and specify the SSL certificate file path and the key file path. And once you made all these changes, you need to save the changes using Control X, Shift Y, and Enter. So let's go on to the command sudo nano bolt.bi apache config.conf. So the files has been opened here. Now let's first of all go with the uncommented lines. So uncomment the commented lines. And let's replace the SSL certificate path here. And ensure you have the server name instead of localhost in the server names. So now we need to ensure the server name, which has the proper DNS name, and whether all the lines were uncommented and the SSL certificate part. So once done, let's save the changes using Control X, Shift Y, and Enter. Now our next command is to test the syntax of the configuration which we made onto the files using the command sudo apache2ctl config test. Once you see the message, syntax is okay. Now we can reload the Apache web server in order to reflect the latest changes that we made in the configuration file using the command sudo apache2ctl restart. So now the application has been restarted with the latest changes. So once you refresh the browser, you could see that the application has been hosted with the SSL certificates. So this is how you can deploy Bolt.bi in the Ubuntu using the Apache web server with or without the SSL certificates. Now we are going to see in case later on, if you want to uninstall Bolt.bi or if you want to remove the Apache web servers or if you want to remove any files or folders from the location, how can I go with the comments? So that's what I'm going to show you here. So first of all, we need to go on to the location cd where bolt services to uninstall Bolt.bi application. So let's go to the location here. And we need to run the command sudo bash uninstall boldbi.sh. So this will ask you to confirm with the uninstallation. So once done, now you could see the browser that the application has been uninstalled and it is mapped only with the Apache web server. Now we are going to remove the Apache as well. So how can we remove Apache from the web server is sudo apt-get purge Apache 2. So let me uninstall the Apache as well. So it will ask you to enter S. And the Apache has been removed. Now you could see the site was not, I mean, it was not neither mapped with Apache or with the Polby application as well. So our next command is to see how to remove a files or folders from the specific location. So first you need to go to the root folder and you can remove the files and folders. As of now, I'm showing with the Polby application here using the command sudo rm-r folder name. So let me clear this out. So you need to go to the user location, I mean, the user provided permissions. And here we are going to list, and I mean, you can see here we have packages and the extracted folder. So I'm going to remove these two folder sections here. So sudo rm-r, and let me copy this package name. And let's remove this extracted folder as well. And now you could see the folders and the files has been deleted. So this is how you can deploy Bolt BI in Ubuntu using Apache, and you can uninstall it or you can remove the specific files or the web servers as well. So next we are going to see how can we deploy in Ubuntu, I mean Bolt BI in Ubuntu using the Nginx web server. So first we need to connect to your servers. So as of now, I have connected to the server here. So our next step is to get the updates for the machines. So let me give like sudo apt-get updates. If you feel your machine is updated with the proper latest updates, then you don't need to run this command. Now it was done. And now our next step is to install the Nginx web server in the machine using the command sudo apt-get install Nginx. So let me give S to install Nginx into the web servers. So as of now, I'm giving us cancel. If you want, you can restart the necessary containers. Let me clear this page here. And our next step is to check the status of the Nginx server, whether it is active or not. So let's go with the command sudo systemctl status Nginx. And you can see the message that the status of the Nginx is active and running. So let's go with the next step to install the zip package, because this is needed to extract the uh, folders or the files that you are downloading, or if you want to zip it. So let's install the zip. So our next step is to install the GDA Plus package, which is needed to enable the graphics in Bolt BI. And our next step is to install the PV package, which is needed to track the data sent through file. So let's clear the sections. And our next step is to set the environment in case if you want to configure with the SSL. So let me configure the path. And as usual, our next step is to download the Bolt BI package and download it using sudo wget command. So let's copy the downloaded link. So let it download. And as usual, we are going to extract this and change the Bolt BI location into as a current directory folder as of now. So our next step command is to have the unzip package command. So let's do it. And our next command is to change the bold BI directory as the current working directory in order to make the installation scripts to run. So cd and its path. So let's copy this. So let's clear this out. And our next step is to install the bold BI. So here the difference is, as like we done with the Apache, it is the same new installation, the user and the domain address, but here we mention it as like Nginx as -n and it's true. So let's go with the command here. So here I would like to add one more point with this. As like I said, you can give either installation as new or upgrade and the user details and the domain address as IP address or DNS that you mapped for your machine along with the HTTP protocol. And the major section is the -n as true. In case if you want to configure the BoltB application along with the Nginx automatically when doing the deployment, then you can provide the value as true. In case if you have any other applications using the Nginx already in your machine, then you can set the value as false and you can configure the Nginx manually for the Bolbay application. So we have defined how to configure Nginx as a manual configuration for the Bolbay application in our help documentation. You can refer from there. So once you see the message, Bolbay installation is completed, let's go on to the site and let's see the changes here. And now you could see the Bolt API has been deployed in Ubuntu using the Nginx web servers. Now you can click on like login to activate your account and you can start setting up your Bolt API accounts. And this is the installation step. Now, when we talk about like SSL, because as of now, this site has been configured without SSL. So I need to make it secure. Then you can go for the next steps to configure the SSL. So let's navigate to the path where we have the Nginx configuration file. So let me navigate. So the path is cd So our next step is to make changes to the bold.py nginx config file and make the changes like uncommenting the commented lines and comment the listen lines under the server category and update the DNS or the IP address in the server name instead of localhost and specify the SSL certificate file path and the key file path. Once you made all these changes, you can save the files using Ctrl X, Shift Y and enter. So let's make changes to the file here. So let's uncomment the lines first. And you need to comment the listen lines under this server category. And let's specify the SSL path. where we have the certificates and the key file path. And in here, you have the DNS or the IP address in the server name. So once you ensure that all the lines were uncommented and except the listen lines, and the server name has been replaced well, and the SSL certificate was replaced with the proper path, let's save the changes using Control X, Shift Y, and Enter. So our next step is to test the syntax of the configuration file using the command sudo nginx-t. And you could see the message syntax is okay. So now let's reload the Nginx web server in order to make the latest changes into the web servers. So sudo nginx-s reload. So now the application has been reloaded with the latest changes that we refer to the SSL certificate, and you could see the changes here. So once done, as usual, you can click on the login to activate an account, and you can set up your account, and you can start creating the dashboards. So one more thing we need to take a look on Bolby application is optional libraries. And this is possible for all the Linux distributions like Ubuntu using Apache or Ubuntu using Nginx or CentOS using Apache or CentOS using Nginx as well. So let me cover what is optional libraries in Bolby. So Bolby has a lot of data connectors when you're trying to create the dashboards, like a more than 130 plus connectors. And we have a mix of connectors like file types, cloud storages, databases, and the REST APIs. So when we talk about like a databases, we need a specific library in order to make a connection with the data sources. So we have like Oracle, PostgreSQL, MySQL, Google BigQuery, ClickHouse, MongoDB, Snowflake, and so on. So based on that, you need to download the specific client libraries in order to make connection with your data servers when you're trying to connect with the Bold API. And before you are downloading the libraries, please ensure that you have read and accept the client library license. So our next step is to install the client libraries. So let's navigate to the path cd var www Bold services client library. So you could see the consent to deploy client libraries.txt. So let's read this. Let me show you with the read action. So you want to read and agree the policies. So use the cat command to read the policies here. So let me copy this. So you could see the license category of each and every library that we use to connect us in Bold API. So based on that, so let me clear this and show you with the next command. So our next step is to install the optional libraries. This is not mandatory to install all the optional libraries. For example, I'm just going to use only the Snowflake or only the Oracle, or I'm going to use MongoDB and the Google. So in this scenario, you don't need to install all the optional libraries. Whatever the libraries that you want, you can choose only those to install it. And even later on, you can prefer that. For example, when I'm setting up Bolby, I'm not going to use any database, not a problem. You don't need to install this. But when you're trying to use database after a few months or after a few days, if you want to connect a database, then even you can follow these commands and you can install it in your own. There is no need to have the optional libraries only at the initial stage of the deployment. You can do it whenever you want. So that's the optional libraries here. So let's install using the command. So I'm going to use only MongoDB and Snowflake. And you could see only those two libraries were installed. And this doesn't make you any difference in the installation steps. This is only reflected when you're trying to connect the databases. So this is all why we need the optional libraries in Bolt.ba and how can you install them. So let's go on to the next step, which is the uninstallation. So in case if you want to uninstall Bolt.ba application or to remove the Nginx servers, how can we do it here? So let's go to the location Bolt services and uninstall the Bolt.ba application. So let's uninstall. By running this script. It will ask you to make confirmation. So once done, the Bolt.ba application has been removed. Now you can see this DNS has been mapped only with the Nginx web server, not with the Bolt.ba application. So now let's remove the Nginx servers as well from the mapped configuration. So using the command sudo apt-get purge Nginx, Nginx command, Nginx 4. So let's go here. So let me confirm it, and Nginx has been removed from the system. So let me clear this. And now you could see neither Nginx or the Bolt.ba application is present in this DNS mapped location. So this is how you can install and you can uninstall the Bolt.ba application and install the web servers and to uninstall them. To remove them. So our next step is to check how can we delete the folders or remove the folders or the files from the location. So first of all, we need to go on to the root user permission level, and then using the sudo rm, we can remove the files here. So let me show you the root user, and let me list here. You could see the packages. So let me remove them. And now you could see the files and the folders has been deleted. So this is how you can deploy Bolt.ba in Ubuntu using Apache and the Nginx servers. So now let's take the next section, which is how to deploy Bolt.ba in CentOS using the Apache web servers. So our first step is to connect to the servers. So let me connect here. So if you're connecting to the first time, it will ask you to confirm with S option and the enter. If you're connected already, it will automatically connected once you enter the password. So our next step is to install the Apache, which is HTTPD in the CentOS machines. So let's go with the command sudo dnf install HTTPD. So let me make S, and Apache is being installed here. And our next step is to start the Apache server using the command sudo systemctl start HTTPD. So now once started, we need to check the status of the Apache, whether it is active or not. So let's use the status command to check the status of the Apache server. And we could see the message that the Apache server is active and running. So let's go with the next step where we need to install the GDI Plus, which is mandatory to enable the graphics and the Bolt.ba application. So let's install sudo dnf install libgdi plus. And our next step is to set the export open SSL conf and the path to set the environment to configure SSL. So let's configure. So again, our next step is to now download the Bold BI package and start extracting it and setting the path and start installation the machine. So let's go with sudo wget and the download link. So let's copy the download link. So then our next step is to, once downloaded, let's unzip the package using the command sudo unzip and the package name. So let's copy the package name from here. So after extractor, we are going to set the Bold BI folder as the current working directory in order to make the installation steps. So let's change the current directory name. So copy this and let's change it. So now let me clear this. And as usual, our next step is to install the Bold BI application using the Apache web server. So let me go with this. And it is going to be installed using Apache server. So here also the comment denotes the instruction can be new or upgrade, and the username or it can be group name, and the domain address with your DNS name or with the IP address along with the HTTP protocol, and using which web server we are installing this Bold BI. So using the Apache web server. So let it complete. So the services is beginning to start. Once you see the message, the Bold BI installation is completed. Now let's check the browser. So this site has been configured with the Boldby application with the installation. And as usual, you can click on the login to activate account and you can set up and you can start working with the Boldby application. So as of now, it is not configured with the SSL. If you want to configure with SSL, let's go with the next steps. So navigate to the path where we have the Apache configuration file location. So our next step is to make changes to the Boldby Apache configuration file and uncomment the commented lines except to the protocol line and replace the DNS or the IP address in the server name instead of the local host and specify the SSL certificate paths, and then you can save the changes. So let's go to the file sudo nano boldby apache config.conf. So let's uncomment the lines except the protocol line. Leave this protocol line and uncomment the rest of the commented lines. Let's change the SSL certificate path, and the key path. And ensure you have proper DNS name or the IP address instead of localhost in the server names. So once you ensure the server name and the protocols is being commented and the SSL certificate, let's save the changes using Control X, Shift Y, and Enter. Now the changes has been made. Now we need to install a module for SSL in order to activate in the Apache web server using the command sudo yum install mod underscore SSL. So our next step is to navigate to the HTTPD configuration file, which is related to the Apache web server. So let me clear this. So let's navigate to the path. And we are going to make changes to the httpd.conf file and add the line at the end of the document as load module SSL underscore module modules slash mod underscore SSL dot SO. So let's edit the file. So go to the last line of the document. So we are going to add the line which is load module and it is related to SSL module category. So modules slash the mod which we downloaded. So once done, let's save it. Control X, Shift Y, Enter. Now the changes has been made. Now let's restart the Apache server using the command sudo systemctl restart httpd. So the server has been restarted. In case if you want to check the syntax, as like we done for the Ubuntu machines, you can make use of the command like sudo apache ctl config test. Let me run that as well. So here you could see the syntax is okay. Now we can refresh the browser and the application has been configured with SSL certificate. So this is how you can deploy Bolt BI in CentOS using the Apache server with or without the SSL certificates. So our next step is to see how can we uninstall Bolt BI application and to remove the Apache web servers from CentOS servers. So let's go on to this path, Bolt services, and uninstall it. So run the script. Let's give S. And Boltbay will be uninstalled successfully. Now you can see the Apache is alone configured with this DNS and not the Boltbay application. Now let's see how can we remove the Apache servers from the CentOS machine. So we need to use the command sudo dnf remove httpd and sudo rm rf etc httpd star. So let's use the command here. So let me give S. Clear this out. And the next command is sudo rm -rf, etc. So let's fill out this command as well. So now Apache is also removed from the CentOS servers. Now this site is not configured neither with Apache or with Bolt.py application. So this is how you can do it. And the next step is to remove the files or folders from the CentOS machine. So before doing this, we need to navigate to the home and then the user who's logged into the application. Into the servers. So here we can list out the available packages and the folders. So let's remove this. And now you can see the files and the folders has been deleted from the specific CentOS servers. So this is how you can deploy Bolt.py in CentOS using Apache. Now let's take a look on how can we deploy Bolt.py in CentOS using Nginx web server. So the first step is to connect your servers. I have been connected already to the CentOS machine. So let's go with the next step to install the Nginx server here. So sudo dnf install Nginx. So once completed, now let's enable the Nginx servers using the command sudo systemctl enable Nginx. Now the Nginx has been enabled. Our next step is to start the Nginx web server. So let's start it. And our next step is to check the status of the Nginx web server, whether it is active or not. So we could see the message that the web server is active and running. So then our next step is to install EPL release, which is mandatory to install because sometimes the CentOS servers will not have the latest updates and the dependency libraries, which is needed to run a perfect application. So in this scenario, if anything is missed, you can install the EPL release, which downloads all the dependency libraries in the CentOS servers. So let me install. So our next step is to install libgdi plus to enable the graphics in the Bolt.py application. So enter the spell error here. So our next step is to set the environment to configure the SSL. So next we are going to download the Bolt.py Linux package for the CentOS machine and we are going to install it. So let's go with the command. So before that, we need to copy the download link. So let it download. So as usual, our next step is to unzip the package, which is downloaded right now. And then we are going to change the Bolt.py as a current working directory. So we are going to change the current directory using the command cd and the directory name. So copy the bold BI location. So now we are going to install using the command sudo bash install script installation as new, user as the username with domain address and hyphen s true. As I said like earlier, if you are trying to upgrade, you can use the keyword as upgrade instead of new, and the user as either a user or the group, and the domain address must have the HTTP protocol either with your DNS or with the IP address. And the hyphen n indicates the installation is deploying with the Nginx web server. And if you want to do it by default, then you can provide the value as true, or if you want to configure it manually as Nginx is already used by some other application, then you can give it as false. And later on, you can follow the steps we defined in our help link, like how can you configure the Nginx manually for the Bolby application, and then you can reconfigure it. So once done, you'll see the message that Bolby installation is completed. So now let's go on to the page and connect to the DNS machine. So now the Boldway application has been installed successfully in this DNS address without SSL. So we haven't configured any SSL as of. So this is configured without SSL. So you can click on the login to activate account and you can start setting up your account and start creating your dashboards. So our next step is to check how can we configure with SSL. So our next step is to navigate to the Nginx configuration file. And now we are going to edit the file sudo nanobolt via nginx configuration file and make some changes like uncommenting the commented lines and comment the listen line here and update the DNS or the IP address in the server name instead of localhost. Specify the SSL certificate file path and the key file path, and you can save the changes using the Control X Shift Y and Enter. So let's go to the file name sudo nanobolt via nginx config.conf. So let's uncomment the commented lines. Comment the server listen lines alone. And specify the SSL certificate path. And ensure you have the DNS or the IP address in this server. So ensure you have the server name with the proper DNS or the IP address, and the specific lines has been commented and the remaining lines were uncommented, and check that you have mentioned the SSL certificate. So once done, let's save the changes using Control like Shift Y, Enter. So now our next step is to test the syntax of the Nginx configuration file using the command sudo nginx-t. So once you see the message, the syntax is okay. Now let's reload or restart the Nginx web server in order to make the latest changes to be reflected. Sudo systemctl reload Nginx. So now let's refresh the browser here, and you could see the Boldby application has been configured with the SSL certificate. And now you can start setting up your account and start creating your dashboards. So this is how you can deploy Boldby in CentOS using the Nginx server with or without the SSL certificates. So as usual, our next step is to see how to uninstall Boldby application in the CentOS, which is deployed using Nginx server. Boldby. So let's go to the path. Now let's check the browser here, and you can see the Nginx is configured, not the Boldby application. So our next step is to see how can we remove Nginx from these servers. So you need to run these three commands to clean up the complete Nginx web server from the CentOS servers. So let's run sudo m remove nginx nginx common -y. And our second command is to sudo m remove nginx *-y. And the last command is sudo m auto remove auto clean space -y. So everything has been removed now. Let's refresh the browser, and you could see neither Nginx or the Boldby application is configured with this DNS server. So then now we are going to see how can you remove the files or folders from the CentOS servers using the command. So first we need to navigate to the home and then the user to delete the Boldby applications. Now let's list the files here and remove the package. And this is the folder. So now you could see the files and folders has been deleted. So using these commands, you can deploy Bold2PI in Ubuntu using the Apache and the web server, and also in the CentOS using the Apache and the Nginx. And you can remove the Apache and the Nginx from the corresponding servers as well using these commands. So as of now, we have seen how can we deploy them. And sometimes after the deployment or during the deployment or once completed the installation, if like a few permission issues or like a connecting to the machine, sometimes it gets like a gateway error. So how can we troubleshoot some basic issues which we get in the Linux machines? So the first issue we commonly get, like once we completed the installation of the application, we get that the tenant is deployment pending. So I cannot access the tenant, and it seems like the Boldby application has been crashed. So how can we resolve this instance? First, you need to navigate to the page BIUMS sites, which is the user management where it has all the sites listing page. So, and there you can go to the app data folder and list the permission of all the folders. ensure that the logged in user who is logged into the application has the appropriate read, write, and execute permission for all the files and folders which is accessed by the Bolt BI application. If not, provide the permission to the corresponding user using the command sudo chmod -or 777vi. So once you're done, now the user can create a new tenant and they can access the Bolby application with a new tenant successfully. There won't be any issues as of now. So this is how you can resolve the issues when you're getting a tenant as deployment pending. And the next type of common issue we get in sense, when I try to deploy the Bolt BI, I get like the deployment has not been done with this DNS map address. So why this occurs in sense, when you're trying to deploy the Bolby application with the incorrect protocol. For example, you do not have SSL certificate, but you're trying to host it with HTTPS, then you will be getting such an error. So how can you resolve this in sense? Navigate to the product.json file using the command under the app data configuration folder. And once done, you can edit the file and change the values wherever you have HTTPS and replace it with HTTP. And once you saved the file, you can restore the Bolt BI services using the command sudo systemctl restart bolt-start, which will restart all the services in the Bolt BI application. So now the Bolt BI will automatically successfully deployed into the product in the proper protocol. So that's the common issue. And the third common issue we get is something like when I try to access the application, it shows like a 502 bad gateway and I cannot access the logs as well because I couldn't find which service is stopped or which service occurs this issue. I couldn't find it. So how can you get this in Science? You can get all the stopped services journal logs for a specific time period. So first you need to ensure what are the status of the Bolt services. So sudo systemctl status bolt-start. This command shows you all the services and its status, whether it is active or stopped or what is the status of it. So now, whatever the services that got stopped, you can mention the service name in the command. For example, journalctl-u, consider if the UMS web services has been stopped. You can mention like a bold UMS web service and the time period, like since 10 minutes ago or 5 minutes ago, something like that. Once done, and this command will show you the reason of the service that got failed or stopped and the reasons. So that will help the team to resolve the issue. So this is how you can get the journal logs for the Bolt BI services. And the next common issue we get in sense, the user doesn't have the permission to access a specific module or they cannot log into the application. So in this scenario, what you need to do is you need to provide the root user permission to the corresponding logged in user. So how can you provide permission in sense? Using the command -usermod-ag root and the username. So whatever the username that you provide for them, the entire root user will be granted. Then they can access the application with the root user permissions. And the next common issue we get in sense, I have published a Bolt BI application successfully in the CentOS distribution, but I cannot access it in browser. This is why happen in sense. Sometimes the SE Linux, there is a mode named like SE Linux, and it will be set as enforcing, but it must be in a permissive mode. So if you see like the SE Linux mode is an enforcing, then change it to the permissive mode using the command sudo enforce 0. So you can find the status from the screenshot here. The current mode will be enforcing, and if it shows like this, please change it to the permissive mode, and that will resolve you this issue, and they can access the Bolt BI in the browsers using these CentOS distributions. So these are the common issues that like how can you troubleshoot them? So from this overall webinar, what are the topics that we covered in science? The basic overview of Bolt BI, Linux, and what are the Linux distributions are supported by Bolt BI, and what are the web servers that you can use it, and how can we deploy Bolt BI in Ubuntu and CentOS using the Apache and the Nginx web servers, and what is the purpose of installing optional libraries in Bolt BI and why it is needed. And also along with this, we have covered how can we troubleshoot some basic issues which occurred either during the deployment or after the deployment, or something related to like a gateway issues or the permission issues when you're trying to access the application. So these are the topics that we covered in this webinar. And also I have mentioned some basic reference links here. So if you want to know more about the Volpe application or the prerequisites or how can you go with the installation steps or the comments or configuring the Nginx or the Apache in a manual way, and along with this, if you want to auto upgrade, so you can refer all the comments and the details in our help links. And also, we have published a YouTube playlist which has all the details like how can you set up the environment for Apache and the Nginx servers for Ubuntu and CentOS. How can you deploy in Ubuntu and CentOS using the Apache and Nginx? So we have a playlist over there and even for the troubleshoot videos as well. So you can watch it later on whenever you need it. So I have covered my session. Thanks, everyone.